How great are you? Now, I know when we look in the Gospels and we see this moment with Jesus and the disciples are kind of arguing about who's the greatest between them, and they get in a little bit of trouble with Jesus. But I think that there is some validity in this question. How great are you? Because in my experience and from the hundreds of pastors and ministry leaders that I've met over the years, the one thing that I would say is there is a high degree of self-doubt among pastors and ministry leaders. I think that many of us deal with very complicated situations, very challenging ministries, very challenging people. And because of that, we struggle with our own self-worth. We struggle with answering the question, how great I am. In fact, most of us would answer on some level of like, there's nothing great about me. Like everything great about me is God. And me, I'm just a bump on a log, and, I'm just trying my best just to be obedient to him. And again, there's some truth to that. I think there's some healthy humility in some of that. But quite honestly, I think a lot of it is just covering over the questions of doubt and the questions of discouragement and the things that keep us from really embracing who we truly are. And what I want to do today is I'm going to talk through just a little bit of the mindset that we as pastors need to have. As ministry leaders, we have to have a mindset that is 100% sold out on who God is and his greatness and his sovereignty and his ability to see us through challenges and see us through the difficulties that we face in ministry. At the same time, I think we 100% have to buy into how great we really are, because God's created us to do great things. And I think it's really hard to believe that we're going to do anything great if we just don't have a good perspective on us. And so, let's get started. So the big question is this: how do pastors like us, who remain focused on the mission of Jesus and serving our communities without being distracted by everything in the world around us, how do we increase our effectiveness while living a lifestyle that doesn't compromise our health, our families, or our personal relationships with Jesus? That's the question this podcast is going to answer. I'm Dr. Brandon Party Cooper, and welcome to the Ministry Hackers Podcast. Welcome to this episode of the Ministry Hackers Podcast. I hope you are doing wonderfully today. I hope you're doing great, having a great day as you are moving forward and wherever you are listening to this podcast. I hope you are blessed, and I hope that you understand that you are called into ministry to do great things, and that you have been empowered to do great things, and that God wants to see you do great things. We're going to talk more about that in today's episode. But before I do that, I want to encourage you. In just a couple weeks, we are going to open the doors to the Dream Life and Ministry cohort. And I'm super excited about it. I can't even express to you how excited I am that we are finally at this point ready to open the doors, because this is something that I've been dreaming about for a while, something I've wanted to do. I've been coaching and consulting for churches and pastors for a number of years now. But the one thing that I have always wanted to do is a cohort, a group of pastors and ministry leaders who are walking through together, who are helping each other. Because quite honestly, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I don't have all of the answers, but I do have the ability to bring pastors just like you together so that we can walk through some things that I've learned over the years, some things that I've experienced through ministry, and things that, I believe that's going to help you live your dream life, but also help you learn from others, help you learn from other pastors and other ministry leaders who have been where you are, who are walking the same path, who are currently going through the same struggles that you are, and who can help you, pray for you, support you, stand by you. And that's one of the greatest things that I think this cohort offers. Now, there's a whole lot, and once we open the doors, you'll see everything that the cohort offers, all the bonuses and all of the materials and the coaching sessions. You'll see all of that. But I believe that the greatest thing that this offers is the ability for you and I and other pastors around the country to come together, to stand by one another, to pray for each other, to be there for each other, and to walk through the challenges of ministry together. Because I know that so many pastors all over the country, they serve in isolation. They serve without another pastoral friend to talk to. They serve with nobody to bounce their ideas off of. They serve without the ability to really just kind of complain sometimes about what they're going through, because nobody really understands. Nobody really feels their pain. And that's what I want to give us, is that opportunity to share ideas, to be innovative together, to share our pains and our struggles. This isn't a counseling session, but it is a time for us to come together and support each other, love each other, encourage each other, and walk with one another through the joys and the challenges of ministry. And so, again, there's a whole lot more to it, but that's one of the things that I think is most important, and the thing that I'm most excited about. And so if you are interested at all, even just a tiny bit, in wondering what this Dream Life and Ministry cohort is, I want to encourage you to go to BrandonPartyCooper.com/free getaway. Now, you're going to get a list of 10 getaways all across the country that you can go to. You as a pastor can take your spouse, can take your family. You can go anywhere between 2 and 14 days on some of them. You can go absolutely free to you. You can go on these getaways. And so that's what you're going to get. You go to BrandonPartyCooper.com/free getaway. You're going to get that list of 10 places you can go to for free getaways. But what it's also going to do is it's also going to put you on the front of the line to hear about the Dream Life and Ministry cohort once it opens. So when the doors open and everything starts moving that week, you will get notified right away. You'll be one of the first to know. You'll be able to get in there, check it out, see what it is, find out all the details. You'll be the first to be able to do that. And so again, go to BrandonPartyCooper.com/free getaway, get your list of getaways, but then also go to the front of the line to be able to hear about the details on the Dream Life and Ministry cohort and be one of the first to sign up once the doors open. Again, I'm super excited. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get the show on the road. And so in a couple of weeks, we're going to do that. We're going to pull the trigger, open the door, and we're going to get the thing started. So again, BrandonPartyCooper.com/free getaway. Let's get it started. And I hope to see you in the cohort because it's going to be so much fun. We're going to do a lot, but we're going to have a lot of fun too. All right. So again, BrandonPartyCooper.com/free getaway. Be the first to hear about it once the door is open. Okay, so I have been reading through a book recently. My wife gave it to me a few months ago, and I finally was able to get to it and start reading it. And the book is, and many of you, I'm sure, have either read it or you've heard of it. You're familiar with it, but it's by Louie Giglio. And "Don't Give the Enemy a Seat at Your Table" is the title of the book. And quite honestly, I didn't really know much about it going in. My wife just bought it. The tagline is, "It's time to win the battle of your mind." And the book is incredible on that topic. The whole premise of the book is this idea that we allow the enemy, we allow Satan to come and sit at our table and to be a part of the conversation in our lives when he never should be. And by the things that we do and the behaviors that we have, the choices that we make, but more importantly, by the mindset that we have, we allow Satan to come sit at the table and eat our lunch day in and day out. Now, I'm 100% with you as a pastor, as a ministry leader. I've been in ministry for 20 plus years. I know that it is incredibly challenging at times. And quite honestly, some of you, you face challenges that I don't even know. I don't even understand because I've not been in your context. You may serve in a small town where there is a very challenging family or a very challenging group of people, or maybe you serve in a community where the people have had a bad experience with the church and they've gone around town and they've expressed that to other people. Maybe you serve in a situation where you have a whole segment of your church who is talking about your spouse or outright disrespecting him or her. Maybe you're in a situation where you are the pastor and you preach every Sunday, but quite honestly, you have zero control over what's going on at your church. I don't understand all of those, but I understand that it's discouraging to be in ministry at times. I understand that everything doesn't go the way you want it to. Quite honestly, most things don't go the way we want them to. And over time, that can be very difficult mentally and emotionally to walk through that. And one of the points that Louie makes in the book over and over again is how we set our own mindset, how we think about ourselves, we think about other people, and we think about the circumstances and situations in our lives. How we choose to think about it affects the way we see ourselves. I know for me, when I went to Bible college, I grew up in church, kind of. I went to church with my grandma every other Sunday when I was at her house. I didn't really grow up in church like many of you did, where you went to Sunday school and you were a part of VBS and those types of things. That wasn't my lifestyle. And then when I got into high school, I got invited to go to a basketball thing, as we called it, fifth quarters. It was after the football game. It was actually a big event. There was all kinds of things going on. But for me, the only thing I cared about was playing basketball. They had the gym open, and we played basketball for an hour and a half, ate some food, and there was a little presentation in the middle. And that was it. And through that, I slowly started migrating into the youth group. And then my freshman year in high school, I got saved. I gave my life to the Lord. I said, Jesus, he called me out. He said, Brandon, if you come to me now, I'm going to do great things with you. If you come to me later, I won't be able to do as much. So come to me now, and I'll do wonderful things through your life. And for me, very type A, very logical oriented, I just thought, well, that makes sense. I'll do it now then. And so I raised my hand, went forward, and I gave my life to Jesus. And when I got to Bible college, there were incredible people at Bible college. They had grown up in pastors' homes. They come from ministry families. They were highly talented musicians and highly talented singers. Many of them had preached before. They had, they had great preaching skills, and I just didn't. I could play basketball. Really, that's about all I could do. And I could make friends. I was, relatively friendly. And that was all I had. And I remember looking around at Bible college and looking at everybody that I sat in chapel with and everybody that I got to know. I just thought over and over, God, how are you going to do anything with me? How are you ever going to accomplish anything with me? I don't have the abilities and skills. I don't have the pedigree. I don't have anything really to offer you. But in the end, God saw me through. And what he did, more importantly than anything else, is he got me involved with a youth group in the area that my Bible college was at. He set me with two great leaders who loved me and guided me and prepared me and quite honestly encouraged me to believe in myself. And over the course of my Bible college years and working with these two men in youth ministry, my mindset shifted from I really don't belong in ministry because I don't have anything to offer. It shifted to I can do great things because God has called me to do great things. Now, I didn't know what those great things were. And quite honestly, I don't even know that I still know to this day what those great things may be. But the mental shift that I went through from I don't belong to I can do great things really was hinged on one truth. And that truth was God had called me. And if God had called me to do something, I knew that he was going to see it through. Now I want to challenge you. I'm assuming that if you're in ministry, that if you're serving as a pastor or a ministry leader on some level, maybe you didn't have this light in the sky moment where God called you into ministry. I didn't either. But in your heart of hearts, deep down on some level that God has called you into ministry. Well, that means that he wants to do great things through you. Now, there are varying degrees of great things, and I think we can't look at the way the world measures those things as a guideline or anything like that. Greatness is defined by God himself. And if God has called you to lead millions to Christ, well, that's your great thing. But if he's called you to reach a community for Christ, that's your great thing. Now, in our natural humanness, we look at those and be like, oh, well, that one's way bigger than the other one. Maybe so from our perspective. But we don't know what strategic value any of that has for God. Maybe that small town, that greatness that you have to reach that small community, maybe that has way more strategic value long term than the thousands or millions that someone else might lead to Christ. Maybe. I don't know. All I'm saying is that in the economy of God, greatness is defined very differently. And we can't look at what we do and what we put our hands to and assume that what we're doing is lesser than what somebody else is doing. And I want to challenge you to make the mental shift away from whatever discouraging thoughts you have. Because as Louie would say, you have invited the enemy to sit at your table. Whether you have intentionally done that or unintentionally, subconsciously, you have allowed something in your life, some thought process, some idea, some perspective about you to take away from your own greatness. I remember I was talking one time to a friend of mine, and they were talking about this thing they were struggling with, this idea about themselves that they were struggling with. And they were just kind of talking about it. And I asked the question, where does this come from? Like, why do you even, because I saw them completely different than how they saw themselves. And so I just said, like, this doesn't make sense to me because I don't see that at all. Where did this come from? And they weren't really sure. And we kind of talked about it. And really what it came down to, there was this kid in elementary school that would make fun of them and would point this out and would call them names and would drive home this idea that they were like this person, or they were like this, that they were this person that I couldn't see. And maybe when they were a kid, maybe that's true. Maybe they were like that. But the person that I was looking at right in front of me was not like that at all. Not even a little bit like that. And in that moment, I remember God just very clearly speaking to me, and I repeated it to the person. And I said, how are you going to allow some 6-year-old punk kid that you knew way back when to define who you are today as a grown adult? Why would you do that? Because God is telling you that you are way more than this, but you're choosing to listen to this 6-year-old kid who was making fun of you and convinced you were this person. When God is telling you, you are a completely different person. And I would say the same thing. I would challenge you in the same way today. Is I would ask you, who are you listening to? Are you listening to the God who created you, the God that called you, the God that has empowered you to do great things in his name? Are you listening to him and defining yourselves from his perspective and through his eyes? Or are you choosing to listen to somebody else? Maybe it was somebody in high school or college, or maybe it was a parent or a sibling, or maybe it was just somebody you've known along the way. Or maybe it's just you. Maybe you're just hard on yourself. And I understand that. Again, I'm type A. I am my worst critic. Every little mistake is the end of the world for me. And so I get how that self-talk can really deteriorate our perspective on ourselves. Whatever the voice is, whoever it is, whatever they're saying, the reality is it's only one person, and it's the enemy, it's Satan. And he's trying to get to you, and he's trying to hold you back, and he's trying to push you down, and he's trying to keep you from doing the things that you've been called to do. And I want to encourage you to rise above that. Get on your knees and spend time in prayer. Get the enemy away from your table, as Louie would say, and start listening to the God who loves you, who has complete, utter passion for you, and who has called you to do great things. If we define ourselves by any other metric or measure other than God's perspective and his voice, then we are holding ourselves back. I don't know what your calling is. I don't know what you've been destined to do. I don't know even what you're doing now in your current ministry situation. Maybe you're not even serving in ministry. Maybe right now you're just looking to get back into ministry. Maybe you're taking a sabbatical from ministry. I don't know. But what I do know is that if you are called by God to do great things, he will see you through. And quite honestly, if you are called by God at all, it's to do great things. Because everything that God puts his hands to is greatness. He leads us into greatness and helps us to achieve that. And it's one of the pieces with living this dream life in ministry. You know, some people think that when I say dream life in ministry, they think I'm referring to this idea of like this lavish lifestyle with riches and Lamborghinis and big houses. And no, that's not I don't live that lifestyle. In fact, I don't even know pastors. I know there are some out there that do that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living the lifestyle, the dream life, however that's defined by you. Maybe your dream life is pastoring a church, pastoring a ministry, loving on people, and fishing on the weekends. Or maybe it's pastoring and traveling and going across the world and visiting missionaries that you're connected with. Maybe your passion or maybe your dream life looks like loving on people and ministering to people, but at the same time you are active in your community. Maybe you're running for some office in your community. You're trying to be an elected official in your community. Or maybe your dream life is just being the best softball coach that your town has ever seen. I don't know what your dream life looks like, but I do think that too many of us are not living whatever it is. And I think a lot of that is because we don't think we deserve it. We don't think that we have earned it, as if somehow we can earn anything from God. God calls us, not because we earned it. God calls us because he loves us and wants to use us. God empowers us not because we've earned it. He empowers us because he wants to use us to do great things. God's designed a dream life not because we deserve it, but because he wants to bless us in our life. And so I don't know where you are today. I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know. Maybe you're on top of the world. Maybe you're living your dream life and you have the highest level of confidence and you believe in everything you're doing. And maybe that's where you are. And man, I would applaud you and I would say, keep going, because you are rare in the world of ministry. Or maybe this is a rough day. Maybe as you're listening to this podcast and as you're watching this video, maybe you're just sitting here saying, I just don't know if I can go on any longer. I don't know if I can do ministry anymore. I'm just beat up and worn down, and I'm not even sure that I'm capable of this. Well, I want to remind you that there is a God sitting at your table, looking across from you, at you, and telling you, you are able, because I have called you and I have empowered you and I am sending you. The other voice at the table, you need to kick him out and get him away, because he's doing nothing but distracting you and keeping you from doing exactly what God has called you to. And so today, take a few minutes. Pause this, shut it off, finish it, and go sit down. But sometime today, take a few minutes, bow your head, bow your knees, and just say, God, I need to tune my ears to hear you. I need to hear you loud and clear. I need to hear you over all the other negative talk, whether it's my own talk or whether it's somebody else's, whatever device and whatever person that Satan is using to get into my head. I need you to quiet that down and help me to only hear your voice. And when you tune your ears into God's voice, you will start to realize the greatness that lies inside of you and the things that you've been called to do. Maybe you've lost your passion for ministry. If you tune your ears into God, I guarantee you will be passionate once again about the calling you have on your life and the direction that he's taking you. And I pray for you that you'll take that time, that God will speak to you and he will turn things around for you. All right? So spend some time with him today. Listen to his voice, quiet the voice of Satan, and choose to listen and to hear what God is saying from his perspective, not from anybody else's. All right? Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.